I never imagined that after 14 years of marriage to my beloved wife, I'd find myself in such a situation. Now, looking back, it feels like a nightmare, but oddly enough, I can laugh about it. After all, it's all behind me now, and I've moved on. Catherine and I first met at my best friend's wedding. She was one of the bridesmaids. She was lively, charming, and simply stunning. Without a doubt, she was the most captivating bridesmaid there, catching the eye of almost every guy at the event. But guess what? I was the one who didn't give up, and eventually, Catherine chose me. A few months into our relationship, she surprised me with the news that she was pregnant. I was head over heels in love with her, so I immediately stepped up to take responsibility. I proposed, and she happily accepted. We tied the knot, and from there, life unfolded the way it should. We had a beautiful daughter, smart and gorgeous, and we made it work. People always said she was a mini-me, and honestly, that warmed my heart. My daughter's affection was everything to me. Like any family, we had our small disagreements, but every argument seemed to make our reunions even sweeter. I never once thought about being unfaithful. My love for my wife was solid, and I didn't need anything else. So, the thought that Catherine might ever betray me didn't even cross my mind. It honestly felt like we were living in a perfect marriage. 14 years of happiness with no clouds on the horizon. I'd been working at the factory for ages, dealing with both day and night shifts. One evening, I was once again assigned to the night shift. At that time, a young intern had joined our team. The guy was sharp, picked things up in no time. He was quick to learn all the nuances of the job, always completing tasks with responsibility, even going above and beyond what was expected. After a walk around the factory grounds, we both headed to the break room to warm up. Just a little tea to chase away the chill of the cold night air. The room was warm, but not as cozy as being in your own bed. I couldn't help but think, how nice it would be to lie down in a comfy bed and just let my mind wander. So, Sullivan, go ahead, the kid said with confidence. I'll handle it. You can see I'm doing just fine. Plus, the plan for today only has one detour left, and that one's in the morning. The thought that I could wrap things up, please my sweetheart, and be in a warm bed in just half an hour lifted my spirits. The work was done, and for the next few hours, we'd just be sitting by the radio. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, I took the kids' advice and headed home. It was early spring, and the nights still had a crisp bite to them. All winter long, I'd been riding my old motorcycle to work. So, half an hour later, I was pulling up to my gate. It was closed, but not locked. That struck me as odd. And when I noticed the light on in the summer kitchen, separate from the main house, my unease grew. I was certain that when I left for work, no lights had been on in the outbuildings. I always made sure to turn everything off and lock the gate myself. So when I left, I was under the impression that my girls were completely safe. With each step closer to home, my anxiety deepened. The light wasn't on in the house, which was strange enough. But now this. I grabbed the shovel handle leaning against the porch and made my way to the summer kitchen. I decided to prop the door from the outside, then peer through the window to see what was going on inside, all the while clutching the handle, just in case. The thoughts racing through my head were a blur, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. There, in the summer kitchen, was my beloved Katie, with another man. It hit me like a blow to the head. For a few moments, I just stood there, stunned, like a statue. How was this even happening? How could this be real? The sounds of sighs and moans from the traders snapped me out of my daze. In a rush of fury, I knocked on the window with the shovel handle. You should have seen their faces, twisted with panic and disbelief. I don't even recall every detail of the scene, but I remember how they both scrambled up, frantically grabbing their clothes and trying to rush out the door. But of course, the door was bolted from the outside. They froze, staring at me, and I made a motion across my neck with the shovel handle, signaling that I was done. As I went to open the door, Both of them had already darted out of the second window, completely naked, and were stumbling across the garden in a frenzy. I walked into the house and made my way to my daughter's room. She was fast asleep, snoring softly, and the sight of her made my heart ache. Tears welled up in my eyes as I stood there, watching her. Later, I sat down to talk with her, trying to figure out what to say, to explain where her mother had gone. But before I could even start, my daughter cut me off. She said she already knew everything. Apparently, this wasn't the first time her mother's actions had confused her. She began to cry and told me that her mother had warned her not to say anything, to keep quiet about it. For months, my wife didn't show up, didn't check on her daughter, as if we didn't matter at all. Then, one day, she came back, expecting that I would just forgive her and welcome her home. But neither I nor our daughter could even consider it. We packed up her things, the ones we kept all this time, and wished her well on her way. A year later, I met someone new, a lovely woman who also had a daughter, just a little younger than mine. The three of them hit it off right away, and now I have a new, strong family. Meanwhile, my ex-wife has continued to jump from one man to the next, her love life spiraling into a marathon that's lasted for years. I hear about it through her sister, who's our daughter's godmother. I don't think I'll ever understand how my ex ended up like this, or how she had the heart to walk away from her child. Some things, I guess, are just beyond comprehension.